Somebody stole a gavel, so there's your gavel. Good morning. Today is Tuesday, March 3rd. This is a regular meeting of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good morning. Let the record reflect Commissioner Soboroff, Figueroa Villa, Kim, and Salzman are present, and we have a quorum. Number one on the agenda, commission comments, and we have one public speaker.
Okay, I'm going to lead off with your permission, Commissioners, the public comments today. I would like to speak to the tragedy that occurred on Sunday, March 1st on Skid Row, and the daily tragedies that affect the underserved on Skid Row and in other areas of Los Angeles and other urban cities around America. On Sunday, LAPD officers responded to a 911 call with a robbery investigation in the area of 5th and San Pedro, in the heart of the Skid Row area. Officers contacted the victim and the suspect. As a result of contact with the suspect, as shown on the Union Rescue Mission and social media videos, a situation which seemed to begin with discussions quickly became a violent struggle and further escalated in seconds to a tragic death. The department's Force Investigation Division and the LA Police Commission's Inspector General, Mr. Bustamante, have just begun detailed investigations to determine exactly what did happen, and if any of the officers involved violated any of the administrative policies of the department. I'm sure that Chief Beck will be expanding on the status of the investigation. At the conclusion of the investigation, which will be monitored by our Inspector General, who will also speak in a couple minutes, as to the process in his office, our commission will be presented all of the evidence gathered and adjudicate whether this use of force was in or out of policy. Not just use of force, but also in the categories of tactics and drawing weapons, officer by officer. I and my colleagues are precluded from making judgments in this prematurely until the matter is presented to us with all of the evidence in its entirety, all of the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle put together. That evidence includes videos from the public, from security cameras, from on-body cameras, witness testimony, 911 tapes, and other evidence. While watching the video like the rest of the world did, posted on Facebook repeatedly, I was trying to hear exactly what the officers said to the suspect. One key to this investigation will be what was that conversation and what steps did the officers take to deal with this contact, and most importantly, whether the deceased did in fact grab the officer's service pistol. The abundance of evidence to date, supplemented by future interviews and forensics, will prove invaluable in the investigation of whether the various police officers were justified in their actions. The chief reported yesterday that early indications and evidence did support the officer's account of a gun situation. I would encourage people, okay, we're going to set a rule in here, okay? If you talk, you leave. I would encourage people not to rush to judgment. It isn't fair to anyone to rush to judgment. It isn't fair to the family of the deceased to rush to judgment. It isn't fair to the memory and the honor of the deceased to rush to judgment. It isn't fair to the officers to rush to judgment. we will find out what happened. There will also be a criminal investigation and review completed by the LA County District Attorney to determine if there is any criminal culpability on the part of the officers. This is a different tragedy than the incidents in Ferguson and the incidents in New York. LAPD is not the same police force as the others. We have unique training, we have unique policies, and we don't have the same procedures for adjudication. There is different evidence, and we benefit by independent oversight, an independent inspector general, and the circumstances vary considerably. Again, it is important for all of us, the citizenry and law enforcement, not to jump to foregone conclusions to support past biases. It isn't fair to anyone. Let us use this tragedy to frankly deal with the issues of mental illness, of homelessness, of substance abuse, of domestic violence that create Skid Row. Let us acknowledge with massive amounts of additional funds the service providers to the underserved and at risk on and off Skid Row. Law enforcement is a part. So is community policing, and so is continued training. In summary, let's not point fingers, let's join hands. To be a part in solving these social issues and inequities that reach areas not just in Skid Row or around Los Angeles, but in other urban cores across America. Thank you. Commissioners? Adds, deletions?
Well, I guess I'll just add that I'm certainly troubled and saddened by the tragic death of the young man on Skid Row on Sunday, and it's occupying my mind as well as those of others in our city and likely all over the nation now. We have the onerous task of adjudicating this case at the completion of a long but detailed and tedious investigation, and well, I'll do my best to serve in my role to do so, and those are my comments.
Appreciate it. Commissioner Saltzman?
Thank you. I simply want to express my agreement with the comments made by my fellow commissioners, and this is clearly something we take seriously and will review carefully, and will be as transparent as the law will allow us to be. Thank you.
Go ahead.
The first public speaker is Mr. Herman, followed by Tud Hayes.
Mr. Herman, if you're going to disturb the meeting by putting your hands up, you are going to leave the meeting, or this meeting will be over. He's trying to block the view. Okay, go ahead. Your 2 minutes is starting.
Mr. Soboroff, without words, you already are a racist, discriminating towards a person like myself for simply having my hands up. Do you wish for me to turn my back on you so that this way we can have a real conversation? Because Batman wants you to know that the problem of what's happening in the city is a result of bad commissioners taking no action, and tolerating our bullshit is one thing, but tolerating what the public must say is another thing. And I'm going to quote this for you. Where justice is denied, where poverty is enforced, where ignorance prevails, and where anyone of this class is made to feel that our society is an organized conspiracy of oppressors, not to mention the racism, and discriminations towards others simply because of their mental issues or the fact that they are your constituents here today, representing the city of Los Angeles, all of them here and those out there. So to threaten and degrade their aspiration to life, you are contemptuous, a scornful hater of the American people. You should go back to what you never did like and do it better, because you hell ain't not doing a good job here today with this issue in your little speech. So neither persons nor Americans like myself will be safe in Los Angeles. If you're a tourist, stay away from Los Angeles. You're not safe because you might be mistaken for being crazy. No, you're crazy, and I'm politically correct.
Next. Oh, is that the only speaker on this one?
Mr. Hayes, sir.
No, sir.
Mr. Hayes.
Oh, Mr. Hayes. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. I'm sure you all recognize time is the imperative. When it comes to rush to judgment, you must remember that it took the mayor of the city of L.A. to demand that the police department release the information they had on Ezel Ford. Because time had gone on, months had passed by, the investigation was taking place, and nothing was being released. So right now, we are very impatient to see what these body cameras show. Do they really work? Do they really give us the information we need when a situation like this occurs? That information is available right now and can be released right now. Whether or not you feel that might have some impact on the results, we don't know. But what we do know, we paid millions of dollars for these cameras. We never saw one snapshot indicating what these cameras actually show, reveal, or expose. But now we've got 2 officers wearing body cameras. At least we can see that. Sort of immediately, right now, today. So I would suggest the most important thing to do to restrict the rush to judgment is to show us what the police officers captured on their cameras. There was an incident where a person was shot, and the ghetto bird helicopter caught it on camera. But the department insisted that, wait, this is not the same angle that the officers shot. They saw a person who was reaching for a gun. Of course, he had no gun. Well, we will see what the officers saw if you simply release the information, the photographs, the movie from the body camera.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes.
Just a reminder before we get to item number 2 that members of the public are invited to address the Board of Police Commissioners on any item prior to the action of the board on that specific item. You have 2 minutes to speak, and we are on item number 2, the report of the Chief of Police, Chief Beck.
Morning, Chief.
Good morning, Commissioners. So this weekend, we had an officer-involved shooting in Central Division. It is topic of conversation, topic that has brought many of the spectators to the Police Commission meeting today. We gave a press release on it. The mic not working? Gave a press release on it yesterday and briefed the mayor on it this morning. That's why I'm late for this commission meeting. The investigation is ongoing, force investigation. Being shadowed by the District Attorney's Office and with the complete access, the Inspector General is conducting the investigation and will continue forward. We are working with the Coroner's Office. The coroner has possession of the body and is attempting to locate relatives, and when that happens, we will release the name, or the coroner will release the name of the deceased. This morning in South Los Angeles, 2 patrol officers saw 3 men in ski masks exiting a location that at this point looks like a medical marijuana location. The officers went to detain them, and during that detention, shots were fired at the officers by one of the suspects. The suspects have been captured. There was no shooting by the officers in this case. To my report on crime, we continue to see an increase in both violent and property crime this year. Homicides are up 16.7%. Total violent crime is up 27%, and property crime is up 9.8%. This is led primarily by an increase in all forms of both property and violent crime in Central Bureau, with decreasing increases in order in West, South, and with the lowest increase in Valley Division. And Valley Division is actually below its 2013 level. Shootings, we have had 26% increase in victims shot and a increase in gang crime so far this year. So it's been a tough start. I will remind the commission that last year at this time we were posting record decline, so part of it is affected by that. Traffic collisions, had a slight increase in overall traffic collisions, and we are at 32% reduction in serious and fatal traffic collisions. Driving under the influence traffic collisions are about even with last year, and driving under the influence serious injuries and fatalities are also even at 12 so far this year. Hit and runs, overall hit and runs are down slightly from last year, but of particular note, serious hit and runs that involve hospitalization or fatalities are down 25%. Motor vehicle versus pedestrian accidents are down 4.5%, and serious hospitalization and injury accidents are down 28%. Bicycle-involved traffic accidents are down, and serious bicycle-involved traffic accidents are down 61%. We have 9,881 sworn personnel on payroll and 33 recruits in the academy who are not yet on payroll, so that puts us right over the 9,900 mark. That's still about 120 police officers short of our goal. Civilian staffing, 2,709, and we're carrying 568 vacancies. We have just over 400 reserve officers, 373 specialist volunteers, 62 chaplains, and 6,074 cadets. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
We have 30 speakers on this item. Some of the speakers are in the overflow room, but I'll call 3 names at a time, and we'll be patient while the Sergeant of Arms bring them over. The first speaker is Reverend K.W. Tulos, Darren James, Steve Diaz.
Morning, sir. Welcome.
Good morning, commissioners, chief, and wonderful community that's here today. I'm Reverend K.W. Tulis from the National Action Network. I'm the Western Regional Director, where our national president is Reverend Al Sharpton. How many more people must die a senseless death due to the hands of those whose jobs are to protect and serve? The world saw on Sunday a mentally challenged man's life taken. And then on TV, we saw yesterday this man's life justified, his death justified by our chief. LAPD must recognize the value of life. Life matters. Africa, life mattered. If it was policy that caused the death of Africa on Skid Row, it's a policy that has no place in our beautiful city of Los Angeles. Who's accountable? Is it a mentally challenged individual or poorly trained officers? Who's accountable? Is it a mentally challenged person being tackled by 4 peace officers, beat up, tasered, finding himself surrounded by those whose job is to protect and serve? Guns dangling in front of him, all around him. Who's accountable? Life is valuable, regardless of the challenges. He didn't have to die. And I'm sick and tired of the chief getting on TV justifying the killing of our children, justifying the shooting of those who are dealing with mental challenges. We appreciate the body cam. However, the community beat you to the punch, and we saw across the city.
Thank you, sir. Next.
And killed.
Next.
Thank you again.
Darian James.
Welcome, sir.
Good morning. Racism never was based on facts, right? There were perceptions, right? And it seems to me you guys are using your own perceptions. Everyone saw what happened on television, right? This the man was on his back. A cop beat him up with both arms swinging, right? This is a police officer, a big guy. He had friends with him, right? There's no reason in the world 5 cops can't take that man, right? He didn't have a gun. Maybe he did try to take the cop's gun. If I'm on the ground and 5 cops are beating on me, I don't know if I would try to get the gun or not, right? I don't know, right? But you guys are using your own facts here. Everybody saw what happened, right? He's on his back. He got beat up by one cop. Then they stood back and they shot him while he was on the ground. He was unarmed, and you murdered him. It's your job now. What explanation is it? Everybody saw it. Everybody saw it all over the world, right? And yeah, you did. You went on TV. I saw you. You covered for him. You're going to cover for him, and you all are going to cover for him, right? There's 2 SEALs up there. One is the police department. I told you guys this before. That's the city SEAL. Why are you guys all behind the chief of police SEAL? You're not even qualified. You're not a cop, right? You're supposed to be independent. How can you be independent when you're on his right hand, separated from the rest of the group, behind his SEAL? We all saw murder. Do what you want.
Steve Diaz.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, Police Commissioners. My name is Steve Diaz, and I am with the Los Angeles Community Action Network. Today we're here in direct response and outcry to the murder of Brother Africa, who was killed by LAPD on Sunday in Skid Row. For over 8.5 years, our community has been occupied under the so-called Safer Cities Initiative, which has deployed over 50 to 118 police officers in the name of a so-called community policing effort that only has created violence, murder, and tons of arrest and ticketing of our community. This modern-day lynching that was created is a direct response to that policy. The policy of having extra deployment in our neighborhood and nothing better to do than to target homeless individuals, people of low income in the name of gentrification. We're here today to demand, and I'm glad to see Chief Beck made it here, not Chief Pasinger, who should have taken a sick day, in the net to ask that mental health experts need to be the first respondents. All LAPD officers must be disarmed, starting in Skid Row. We must immediately release the name and suspend all officers without pay, because why should we pay for them? And we must demand that Chief Beck and the mayor come to Skid Row just like they would in any other community, not 5th and Main. We're talking about 5th and San Julian, and directly respond to the concerns of the community. Thank you.
The next 4 speakers is General Dogan, Albert Sabo, Kevin Michael Ray, and Esteban Gill.
Morning, General.
Don't flatter yourself. My name is General Dogan. I'm a civil rights organizer with LA CAN, and I'm also a Skid Row resident. I was on the scene about 15 minutes after the shooting happened. And when I got there, instead of LAPD looking for potential witnesses and, interviewing folks, they was using billy clubs to push people down the street, which they created a line and refused to talk to people. But they wasted no time calling the media over to the side and talking to the media. And we, community, is standing there asking for somebody from LAPD to come make a statement. We stood out there about 5 hours waiting for that statement. Finally, we never got one, so we ended up going to the Central Division to talk to the captain personally, where we was giving all kind of BS. But here today to speak out against that, and then that's to piggyback on some of those demands, right? We need housing for all people on Skid Row. We're tired of folks, y'all trying to police your way out of homelessness. You can't do that, right? We need to disarm all of LAPD with their lethal weapons starting on Skid Row, right? We need to dismantle the prison complex and industrial complex. It fuels aggressive and racist policing like the Safer Cities Initiative, right? We need permanent independent prosecutor for all these police murders, right? And we demand that Chief Beck and the mayor come to Skid Row, just like Steve was saying. You go everywhere else around the city, we never see you come to Skid Row, you know, and this is where you have your largest deployment at. This is where you have a lot of the shootings at, of unarmed men with mental disabilities at. But you never come to Skid Row. We just had a town hall not even a month, like a month ago. Yeah, last month. And we invited you. You refused to come. And then what's the result is what happened today.
Thank you, General.
All right.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chief Beck talks about the record crime reduction last year. Don't anybody forget, an independent audit proved that at the time the police were cooking the books. Well, now that the books aren't being cooked, you can see what the real results are, an increase in violent crimes across the city. And the one reason why we have so much crime is because the systematic mistreatment of the minorities within the entire city. Not only the Skid Row community. This systematic teaching is either caused by the training or perhaps the police policies that your guidelines have established. When I was a young man, it seems like if there was a police-involved shooting, somebody would throw a weapon out on the scene, because if they didn't see a weapon, they would be held accountable. Today, no one is being held accountable. So you don't need a weapon. Somewhere along the line, you changed the policy to say, well, if my life feels threatened. Let me tell you what, as many times as my life has felt threatened by other members of the community or the police department, well, hell, I would have a record like the Green River Killer. I would have had to kill so many people. This is a disgrace. It's systemic and systematic, and it's not only Los Angeles. Even though Los Angeles might be the biggest culprit, this problem exists throughout America, and it needs to stop, and it needs to stop right now. We're mad as hell, and we're not going to take it any longer.
Kevin Michael.
Morning, sir.
I'm a Skid Row advocate, and I'm prison industrial complex abolitionist. I'm 65, and I'm tired of this crap. I remember Emmett Till's death in Mississippi. I witnessed an off-duty black officer being killed in my Harlem neighborhood. Now y'all done killed Africa. The video that I saw, it showed your officer throwing down his baton so that he could beat and pummel Africa, not with one hand, but with two hands. Skid Row isn't a policing problem. Skid Row has a police problem. I watched that officer come in Gladys Park with his training officer for a so-called narcotics investigation. Shut down the whole park. Be overly aggressive. That's why we're here, because we done watched it happen over and over and over again in my lifetime, in all of our lifetimes. I stand with all of the statements of my brothers before me. Y'all got to stop doing what you're doing. And the only way it's going to stop is that if we end SCI, because it don't make me feel safer. No more jail. No more prisons. No more po. That's what I say, and that's what we want. We're sick and tired of y'all.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Esteban Gil. I'm a member of the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition, and I'm here to say that while there was 5 cops unloading into one person, the culpability ultimately lies with policy and with policy makers here. LAPD eats up over 55% of the city's budget. A wide arsenal of policies, programs, and technologies, including facial recognition technology, drones, armed vehicles, assault rifles, and you name it, you got it. The officers involved in the murder of this young man this weekend were SCI officers who Chief Beck lauded this weekend for being the most trained officers in mental health issues by receiving a whopping 36 hours of training. That was CNN quoted that. You know, it's ultimately, you know, and the 55% number is always staggering to me, and it's something I bring up because we pay for it. I work in Silver Lake. I pay taxes here. My family has property here. We pay property taxes. And it seems to me that if you have a mental health crisis, the solution is mental health resources, not more technologies and more programs which keep us tracked, trapped, and criminalized. I buried my grandmother a month ago, and that's the way it should happen, though. You know, a grandson buries his grandmother. A son buries his father. Who's going to bury Africa? You know, there's a word for an orphan. There's somebody who loses their parents is an orphan. Someone who loses their wife is a widower. There are no words for someone who loses a son. And this Sunday, someone lost a son, someone lost a grandson, and a community lost a friend. And that's why we're out here today.
Thank you.
The next 4 speakers are Megan Ortiz, Adrian Alcaraz, Adam Rice, Liz Thornton,
Go ahead. Okay. Morning.
Good morning. What happened on Sunday is not just an LA problem. This is Ferguson. This is New York City. And I know because for over 20 years, as an activist in New York City, as an activist here, I've been talking and speaking on behalf of mothers who have buried their children due to police violence. What happened on Sunday is not a tragedy. It was a modern-day lynching, and we need to call it that. When they killed Africa, and that was his name, this is a problem of pattern and practice of the LAPD. A pattern and practice that in Skid Row is called Safer Cities. In New York City, it's called Broken Windows, and all it leads to is broken lives and broken hearts and broken people. What we need is not more police in our communities. What we need is to deal with the issues of poverty, to deal with the issues of housing, to deal with the issues of lack of food, poor education that leads to the school to prison pipeline. That's what we need in our communities. What we need is a real understanding that more police in our communities is really a part of white supremacy, and we need to name that and own that. It is not an accident that the man, the community member, the neighbor, the son that was killed on Sunday's name was Africa. All we need to do is look at the roots of policing in the United States of America. And that's why this is an American problem. So this is why today we ask for the names of the officers who murdered Africa.
Thank you.
And that they be prosecuted.
Welcome. Morning.
Good morning. So I have a very good memory, and I remember being here less than a year ago after Ocaño died at the hands of LAPD, and I remember opening up, and you talked about the hostage situation in North Hollywood, where your officers were able to squash that without any death and any officer shooting. So it's interesting that you opened that up today with what happened in Skid Row, and then how somebody shot at officers and no officers shot back at him. So I'm wondering if that's the unique training that officers are receiving at Central Division, because it's very different than what's going on in the rest of the city. And I also remember being here a little over a year ago when we were talking about the body cams, and you were talking about your pilot program and putting them and installing them on officers here in Skid Row. So here we are, less than a year later, that your pilot program has taken off, and an incident has happened where 2 officers have had cams on them. And so we're here today. I think that since we do pay for those cameras and we do pay for your salaries and the money that you make, we deserve to see that footage, and we deserve to know who those officers are. I believe, Chief Beck, yesterday in your press conference, you said he was a young officer. I myself have come in contact with a new sort of young-looking officer myself, who was harassing my friend and threatening to arrest him for not taking down his tent. And I just want to remind you, it's winter time, so we're between rain. So your officer was threatening to arrest him for not taking down his tent. And if it's the same officer, I think that it just goes to show the kind of, and again, the same training that your officers are receiving, where as soon as he gets out onto the streets to patrol, he murders somebody. And we deserve to know who the officers involved were. I have friends who live in this community. I'm from this community as well, and we deserve to know who those officers are. And Safer Cities Initiative. There's no reason why all those officers had to respond to that one call, and that's what happens.
Thank you. Morning.
Good morning. Well, no, it's not a good morning. And your tirade at the beginning is indicative of this commission. You want to tell us what happened? We saw the video. We saw our brother, our family member, murdered on film. And we watched you come, you who are supposed to protect us, Inspector Bustamante, the rest of you commissioners. We expect Charlie Beck to circle his own, because in the end, these officers pulled the trigger. They should be brought up on charges. There should be a real independent investigation, and I mean an independent investigation, not you, Mr. Bustamante, because you are not independent. Neither are any of you. But in the end, all of the death doled out in this city by the LAPD is on the hands of one man, and that would be you, Chief. You killed Africa with your lies, with your refusal to discipline your officers because it would lower their morale. But what about our morale? What about the people you are sworn to serve and protect? And then you go on television and lie? All we get when we ask for the video cams is, oh, well, we can't release that because we're in the middle of an investigation. But you can definitely release one little piece of photo that shows his hand reaching for a gun. I'll tell you what, if I'm on my stomach with 4 police officers on top of me, and at the same time, one of these backstabbing, evil-minded, poorly trained officers is shocking me with a taser when I'm on my stomach and 3 other officers are on top of me, I'm going to reach back and flail around, and if I find a gun, I'm going to grab that son of a bitch. You know what? Because your intention was to kill this man.
Thank you. Next.
That's what this officer's intention was, and your intention is to cover it up. You're a bunch of cowards.
Liz Thornton.
Welcome.
Yeah, you started this meeting by claiming that this is a different sort of tragedy than the murder of Michael Brown, than the murder of Eric Garner. This is a different sort of police force than we have in Ferguson and New York. How dare you? Who do you think you're kidding? When Skid Row has been a testing ground, has been ground zero for broken windows policing, a policy that criminalizes disorder, in other words, a policy that criminalizes homelessness and poverty, a policy that was responsible for the police encounter that resulted in the murder of Eric Garner, a policy that criminalizes life itself on Skid Row under the title of the Safer Cities Initiative, a policy responsible for the over-policing of Skid Row, a policy responsible for the tasering, brutalization, and murder of Africa at the hands and guns of an armed gang of LAPD officers. How dare you say this is a different sort of police force when there are never charges brought against officers? We're at over 600, well over 600 murders since 2000, and no charges. Recently, the City Council awarded $5 million to settle a suit initiated by the family of a man, an unarmed man murdered in clear violation of the use of force policy. And yet, even though this was a clear violation by Beck's own statements, there were no charges brought. This is a system that doesn't value the lives of unarmed people, especially unarmed black and brown people, and that's the problem. This is not a tragedy, this is white supremacy.
The next four speakers are General Jeff Page, Naomi G., Hamid Khan, Nicholas M. Dahlman, General Jeff Page, Naomi G., Hamid Khan, and Nicholas M. Dahlman.
Good morning. My name is Noemi, and I'm just here to tell you that I think that you, well, I've said it before, I think you're disgusting, and you don't do anything, and you stand for nothing, really. Everything you say you're supposed to do, you don't do. I mean, it's laughable, but it's not funny because people are dying. People are actually out there. You're killing them. You know they're dying. You need to do something different than what you've been doing because it's not working. I mean, you can roll your eyes all you want and look off into the distance like I'm not talking to you, but we're all here. We're going to be here next week, and the week after that, we're not going to stop. We're fed up. End the Safer Cities Initiative. Nobody feels safe with it. Stop the body cameras. They're not doing anything. You won't even release the footage. I mean, are you really listening to yourselves when you talk to us? When you go on camera and lie? How do you sleep at night? Honestly, how do you sleep at night? You must take a lot of sleeping pills, a lot of them.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Commission. My name is General Jeff. I'm a proud Skid Row resident. I'm also born and raised in the city of Los Angeles. And I have to say that this is a tragic day and a tragic moment for the entire city of Los Angeles. While LAPD is constantly, in the last 3 days, justifying a shooting that led to a murder, what I saw in the video is improper techniques, poor execution of police tactics, which means there's a lack of training. And LAPD prides itself in boasting, brags that it's the best law enforcement agency in this country. Well, around the world, over 25,000 views and counting saw how inadequate LAPD really is. It is impossible for a man that is lying on the ground to somehow reach up and commandeer a weapon unless the officer puts his gun hip in the immediate vicinity of the person that's on the ground. Surely that video will not be used by LAPD as a training video on how to properly subdue a subject. And as a homegrown Angelino, just as many of us all across this city, we are embarrassed. If you are the law enforcement, the first responders that represent us, you've got to do better. We expect better. It is impossible for you all to continue to boast and brag when we can clearly see a video that says the truth, that an officer put his gun hip and separated from his weapon. As far as I know, the number one rule in law enforcement is never separate yourself from your gun.
Hello, my name is Hamid Khan with the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition. So spectators, rush to judgment. Yeah, of course, we've been spectators of this mockery for a long time because all the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. The question really is, who's next? Who's next? Who's going to be murdered in cold blood by this department? We can spend countless hours going through training, circumstances, who said what and why, who did what and why. But when you have an institution which is fundamentally flawed, corrupt, and violent by design, then the superficialities become not only a moot point, but the people know that this exercise is nothing but smoke and mirror. So the question is, who's responsible? The individual cops of LAPD? Of course they're responsible. The supervisors of LAPD? Of course they're responsible as well. The management of LAPD? Of course they're responsible. But then we have this, then we know that there's a long history of violence, corruption, and killings, and of course total distrust of the community about LAPD. But more importantly, the responsibility also lies with this body, Board of Police Commissioners, a body of 5 LA City residents who have subpoena powers, includes 2 law professors and an executive director of a nonprofit agency that continues to be dismissive and insulting towards the community. You say don't rush to judgment, but there's no rush to judgment here. Instead, there's compelling evidence, historical data, facts that how LAPD has continued to violate our basic human and civil rights, and the total deference of this commission towards the chief and towards the department. We've brought you evidence of racial profiling. We've seen the sham community hearings on body cameras. We've seen you preside over increased militarization with drones, and then no accountability when they sabotage a federal consent decree. So it is a total failure of this body that equals the murder of Africa. You can't kill Africa.
Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Nicholas Dahman. I teach at USC and I work with the Los Angeles Community Action Network. I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. The past isn't history, it isn't even past. To quote Ida B. Wells in 1900, our country's national crime is lynching. It is not the creature of an hour, the sudden outburst of uncontrolled fury, or the unspeakable brutality of an insane mob. It represents the cool, calculating deliberation of intelligent people who openly avow that there is an unwritten law that justifies them in putting human beings to death without complaint under oath, without trial by jury, without opportunity to make defense, and without right of appeal. The LAPD itself is a vagrant sovereign of inverted totalitarianism, the domestic drone, the vengeful self-appointed judge, and racist semi-valley jury who delivers gang beatdown as due process followed by a speedy trial of 5 bullets. This signature strike of racially targeted assassination is a horrific and deadly charade that appears as yet another ritual of white civic life and black social death. Not some unforeseeable tragic accident that appeared out of nowhere, but an enduring and enforced affirmation of the racial hierarchy of life in the city, nation, and world. I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. I know settlers and colonialists always think they're defending themselves, but isn't it time you honestly recognize that, to ventriloquize the cartoon Pogo, you have met the enemy, and he is you.
The next 4 speakers are Pete White, Suzette Shaw, Dara Glanzer, and Africa Lives.
Pete White, Los Angeles Community Action Network. How dare you, Soboroff, utter the words fair when speaking of the murders that continue to happen in our communities? How dare you? You don't have the right to speak about those murders. It's good to see you, Chief. I thought you were hiding out like a thief in the night, as you always do, but it's good to see that you showed up. And I know Chief Paysinger back there, who's back there texting someone, is happy that he wasn't the person sat to talk to the black folks and the brown folks today. He has a gun. He's reaching for his waistband. Stop resisting in fear of my safety. If you're black and brown and unarmed and hear any of these words, death is certain to follow. You are training officers, your officers, how to get away with murder, modern day lynching, and treating our murder as an employment issue. Black lives matter. Africa matters. This is not an aberration. It continues to happen because this system is corrupt. It is not broken because it works for you. It is corrupt because it embraces the legacy of slave catching, subjugation, lynching, and the protection of a plantation class. Soboroff. There's a mood in this country that has said enough is enough, that embraces the historical legacy of words that when government fails you, it is our duty to install our own government. This system was a failure from the start. We're installing our own government. All people, all out, all the time.
Suzette Shaw.
Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Suzette Shaw. I am a Skid Row resident, and I'm also a concerned citizen standing before you today. As a matter of fact, I was standing here before you just approximately 1 week ago and voiced my concerns and asked for your assistance by coming to our community, humbling yourselves, and getting to know us as people. I believe I also mentioned when I spoke before you 1 week ago that I was here in the same room sitting amongst you all approximately 2 months ago when you rolled out your, it seemed like it was like this people-friendly community policing that you all were going to be doing. And, you know, I was encouraged to hear all of that. But, you know, I'm trying to contextualize what that looks like and what that means today as we stand just, as we sit here and stand here weeks later in our community where people have felt harassed by your community policing. And now we stand here knowing that there was not just a death, but an assassination of a man, a defenseless man, because he lay on his stomach, as I understand, with several officers hovering over him with weapons drawn. So, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, I asked, how does this community police, how do you all hold yourselves, as well as a SMART team, more accountable? How can you not hold yourselves more accountable? LA, for the first time I've ever seen police officers ride 3 deep. Why isn't there not a member of the SMART team that's riding as that third person deep? I've never seen that in any other community. Why isn't it done here? As in the words of Fannie Lou Hamer, I'm tired. I'm sick and tired. I'm tired of being sick and tired. Black Lives Matters. Our people are hurting. We are a recovery community, and people are healing. Please help us.
Dara Glanzer.
Welcome.
Hello, my name is Dara Glanzer. I'm here. I was there at the Board of Supervisors meetings not long ago when there was a discussion about a citizen oversight board. There was one before. They've never had any teeth. I'm sitting here and you all have all of this power. Apparently it must wear on you. You know, you go out and use it to oppress. So why not give it back? Why not use it to change these laws? Why not do something about it? Okay, I know you can't. The way that you approach people has to be humanized, and it's not. It can't be with the relationship that you forge from a police department to an area of unarmed people. And California is, I mean, largely, these gun laws are very strict. You're not looking at people going out and seeing, okay, every 5th person has a gun. I mean, come on. Like, there has to be a way to get around this. 600 murders since 2013? That's crazy. That's crazy. Those are people, and I think you are people too. So if we can't approach this from a way that puts power back in the hands of the people that have more knowledge of a community, if you can't approach a community and say, maybe I should talk to somebody who's lived next to this person who lives in this tent. Maybe I should bring a health professional with me when I go to confront people with mental illness. Maybe I should think about things from a different perspective. Maybe I should have humility. I don't know. These thoughts just come to mind. I know it's a larger systemic problem in a history of slave catching and white supremacy, but it can start with your personal way that you approach your jobs, and I want to bring that to this.
Thank you. Welcome.
Africa lives. You can't kill Africa. We are here today because you have taken somebody from us, but you can't kill him because we're here speaking on his behalf. We're back. Soboroff, who wrote you your statement this morning? That statement is a shame to your position. You say it isn't fair to the officers for us to rush to judgment? We believe our eyes, not your lies. Your officers were sloppy, batons flowing everywhere. Trigger-happy officers on the scene that morning. Statements like "drop the gun," "stop resisting" have been said time and time before, and their officers were not at risk. It's hard not to rush to judgment when the LAPD shows a continuous pattern of killing of civilians. Here in LA, we are leading the nation in police killings. There have been at least 609 people who were killed by law enforcement since 2000. I'll tell you who it isn't fair for. It isn't fair for Carlos Oliva, murdered by law enforcement. It isn't fair by Andy Avila. It isn't fair for Rigoberto Arceo. It isn't fair for Ignacio Ochoa. It isn't fair for Michael Naida. It isn't fair for Ernesto Dueñas Jr. It isn't fair for Jose de la Trinidad. It isn't fair for Eduardo Bermudez. It isn't fair for Johnny Martinez. It isn't fair for Steve Rodriguez. It isn't fair for Avierto Torres. It isn't fair for Carces. It isn't fair for Anthony Axe. It isn't fair for David Jordan. It isn't fair for Steve Romero. It isn't fair for Gilberto Gutierrez. It isn't fair for Stephen Bowman. It isn't fair for us.
The next four speakers are Robert Christo, Donisha Thomas, Becky Dennison, Damon Turner.
Okay. Hi, my name is Robert Christo. I'm an organizer of the Youth Justice Coalition. I'm a member of the Los Angeles Brown Berets. I just want to know, what's the difference between New York and Ferguson and L.A.? I was speculating maybe the difference may be that he was homeless and that he was mentally ill. Also, I would like to know, if I had told you about a mentally ill person being beaten down and harassed by 4 individuals, then electroshocked into submission, trying to forcibly be put in bondage, and then when he resisted to submit, he was shot and killed in the street, would those people be incarcerated right now? Would you be running a smear campaign against the victim? First, the victim was violent. Now the victim's a robber. And now I'm hearing that the victim was a drug dealer as well. If the person was violent, criminal, and had a criminal history, it doesn't make it okay to kill them. It doesn't mean their life doesn't matter. This commission fails to address the real need to address mental illness in this city. This city has had the largest homeless population for years and for decades. And what has been done? We need your money, we need your resources, and we need your support, not your bullets. Thank you.
Donisha Thomas.
I'm Donisha with the Youth Justice Coalition. So I'm here today enraged by the fact that we are now up to 609. 609 people murdered by law enforcement in a matter of 15 years, meaning around 50 people die a year by the hands of their so-called protectors. After seeing that video of Africa being murdered, it was a direct insult to the public, myself, and Africa when you, Mr. Soboroff, made the statement this morning that you wish no one passes judgment until the investigation is over. You made this statement to the media and then again in front of all of us in this room. How dare you? How dare you? The fact that it has been 609 people murdered by law enforcement since 2000 here in LA, yet you have the nerve to ask us not to pass judgment and wait until investigation is over. So we wait while those officers are on paid leave, when there's no need for an investigation, when it's clear we all seen a video of a man being murdered. Today you spoke of fairness, no finger pointing. We want accountability. It's clear you guys are not holding your officers accountable for their actions, so we will. We will. So yes, we are going to point our fingers and we are going to pass judgment because it's clear we've seen someone be murdered.
Welcome.
My name is Becky Dennison. I work with the Los Angeles Community Action Network. I live in South Central Los Angeles. I'm going to go back to this rush to judgment. You have got to be kidding me. We are not rushing. We watch this every single day. Skid Row residents, and particularly black men, live this risk every single day with the overconcentration of officers in our community. We've also studied history. We know the more well-recognized era of lynching in this country. You know what it was? Mobs of armed men going into people's homes, stealing them out, making up stuff they did, and acting as judge, jury, and executioner. At least at that time, officers felt like they had to cover their faces. These officers did it in uniform, in public, on camera, without any thought to that person's life. You can turn around, my friend, but if this is within policy, then you should change your policy, because otherwise this institution is continuing that legacy of genocide and of lynching and of the complete demoralization of black residents of Los Angeles. Black Lives Matter. One of you should have the guts to say it, and all of you should have the guts to do something about it.
The first time you kill someone,
No, sir.
it is a tragedy. The second time you kill an unarmed person, it is a parody. And the tragedy is this parody is continuing with the onslaught of our young, black, unarmed individuals. Now, I'm here today because someone this morning gave me a whistle. Because obviously you all are not listening to the voices that have already been spoken. So I think to make myself a little bit louder, I need to blow the whistle in this place. Blow the whistle on the lethargic responses to the unarmed black folks being killed in our streets. Blow the whistle on cowards like Chief Beck. Blow the whistle on cowards like Steve Soboroff. Blow the whistle on this piece of a shit of commissioners. Blow the whistle on all these assholes who continue to look at us and laugh at us. Blow the whistles on every last one. I got to blow my whistle on this morning. I got to blow. If you got your whistle, go ahead and blow that motherfucker. Chief Beck the coward. Chief Beck the coward. Chief Beck the coward. Steve Soboroff the coward. As our black folks continue to die on our streets, you need to wake up and pay attention. Because one day, all of us are going to come out one day. You don't kill enough black folks, we all come out and really change some damn shit. Keep it up. I still got 20 seconds left. I'm going to keep blowing my whistle on this shit. I got to blow my whistle. Wake up. 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 Wake up.
Thank you.
The next four speakers are Kendrella Mead, Mr. Herman, Mark Anthony Johnson, Pastor Q. Kendrella Mead, is she here? Mr. Herman?
I did sign up the card as Africa Batman, for the record. One and God make a majority. Frederick Douglass. But none of you have regards for Samuel Clemens, who said, "It's not the size of the dog in this fight. He is the size of the fight in the dog." Roof, roof. For you take no action with regards to all the compliments of the law. You contemptuous, scornful disregard for humanity in life. Because if you were listening to your constituents here and in the next room, and those who parade on the streets in retaliation, no. First Amendment right to be heard and recognized. And Batman is no one's, and I am not going to take this offensive towards anyone and direct it to anyone. This nigger is no nigger to no white man. This nigger is no white man. Because under the mask is a man who believes in the law. And so far, Charlie Beck has failed to appropriately address the real issue of our concerns. And that's no censorship, no restrictions from the truth. Yeah, bite your lip, Steve, because the fact is I am politically right. And let me tone it down, relax, because I don't want to agitate no one in a fight here. Is that what Mr. Africa did? I don't believe so. I saw the tape. That's Batman. And Batman knows right from wrong. So Batman's going to protest on behalf of Africa for the last 6 seconds. Enjoy your morning, Steve.
Mark Anthony Johnson?
Mark Anthony Johnson with Dignity and Power Now and Black Lives Matter. Last year, the district attorney stated that housing folks with mental health conditions in the county jail system is inhumane. Clearly, instead of seeking alternatives, the LAPD is taking this as a green light to murder our folks. How dare this commission caution us on rushing to judgment? How dare you caution us when law enforcement has been justifying the killing of black people ever since the African desire for freedom was considered a mental health condition? Ever since the battle for our human rights and the battle to end racist, anti-black violence was considered a clinical psychosis that justified slavery. How dare you? You have no place in our city. You have no place in our budget. You have no place in black life. This is not a question of policy. This is a question of presence. You have no place.
Pastor Q.
Welcome, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pastor Q. I am a pastor of the Church Without Walls on Skid Row. And it's a church without walls because we love walking amongst the people. I have a question for you. How many of you walk the streets of Skid Row regularly? I don't mean just visit it just once. Skid Row is a community. Skid Row is not just a place with nonprofits and drug addicts. It is a community. We have grassroots people who are working underground, but whenever our city comes up with solutions for Skid Row, the people are always left out of the solution. There is no solution for our people. Chief Beck, you stated that the officers involved had some mental health training. Really? I have had incidents with homeless people, being that I work on Skid Row. I've had many incidents, and not one have I had to shoot someone. Mentally ill people, not once have I had to shoot someone. Lastly, my own experience, I parked at the LA Mission one day going to pick up toys for children. and your officers jumped out of their cars, hands on their pistol, and asked me off the sidewalk to get back into my car. Your officers are overly aggressive. They come out of their car with their profile mentality intact, disrespecting me when I'm going to get toys for children. I used to be a rapper, and they did the same thing every time I went to Beverly Hills, laid me on the concrete. What's the difference?
The next four speakers are Rabbi Jonathan Klein, Tud Hayes, Rufus III, Demetrius Wyman,
Welcome, sir.
Good morning, ladies and scumbags. My name is Demetrius. I'm with the Los Angeles Community Action Network. And what constantly goes through my mind is watching the video over and over and over again. You know what's funny to me is how in trial, y'all put your hand on the Bible and y'all swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help y'all God, okay? But the sixth commandment says, thou shalt not kill. Period, point blank period, said thou shalt not kill. And this incident that actually happened yesterday, this innocent man had at least 5 cops on him, on his stomach, okay? On his stomach. Everybody knows whenever a cop is dealing with one individual, they go for their hands first to detain them. So my question is this: how can a man with at least 4 or 5 cops on them get a chance to go after a police gun? It's impossible. And then after y'all shoot him, y'all handcuffed him, the man is already dead. Why embarrass him more by handcuffing him? But let it be one of y'all, man, that get killed. The evidence, everything will be right there within 3 days, within 24 hours. But if it's a black, Hispanic individual, we gotta wait 10 months to a year to get the results that we need. But if one of y'all men get gunned down or something like that, shit's hit the fan immediately. This is a race issue. Y'all don't care about Skid Row. I can tell by your smirk on your face. I can tell by how he looking. But at the end of the day, if something happened to one of y'all family members, y'all gonna flip ape shit. Put yourself in different people's shoes who lost family members against cops. I hate cops. Y'all shot my brother 3 times, and y'all almost killed my grandmother. I dislike cops. One, cops should not even be down Skid Row. Everybody, some people don't know this, but LAPD at night come down Skid Row in a white unmarked van, and the sheriffs and drop off homeless people on Skid Row. But nobody never want to address this shit. That's why a lot of people on Skid Row is on Skid Row because of LAPD and the sheriff.
We're going to follow the rules here, so next.
Rabbi Klein.
Morning, Rabbi.
Rabbi Jonathan Klein, Clergy and Lay United for Economic Justice. Happy Rodney King Beating Day. Thank you, everyone. Let's remember that. And Mr. Soboroff, please, I know that people are emotional here, and so let them finish their remarks. Just show them that decency, please. This is righteous indignation, and it comes from a place of our hearts being broken. Our hearts are broken. It's not just anger. It's deep, deep pain and sadness at a very broken system. We understand that this commission is one widget in a system of justice, the establishment of justice in this city, and you can't address all the pieces of the pie of the problem, but you do have an important function here, and that function needs to be observed. We depend on a functioning police commission to ask the questions and to bring the information to the community with total transparency and accountability on our police department. All people are created B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God. But when a man is cuffed, dead, the homeless rejected, I see God's presence in the bleeding corpse. I see godlessness in the eyes of the killers. Leave the homeless alone. Chief Beck, over Policing Skid Row is a problem. It breaks everything down. It is prone for more and more death and needless destruction of people's lives. When hearts are broken, in my tradition, we pray. And I'd like to say, I had my talit because I thought I was marching in the tradition of Abraham Joshua Heschel, who fought for justice. El Male Rachamim Shochen Bamromim Hamtze Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina.
Thank you. We turn the microphone off, please.
Adonai hu nachalatam ve'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar Amen. May Africa rest in peace.
Welcome, sir.
Yes, how are you? Welcome. Welcome to you too. Welcome to reality. The reality of the fact is this. My name is Rufus III, second to first Almighty, first of my kind. I came down here with a vision to start a foundation, no separation, and that's no race foundation. And I come down here and all I'm looking at is the imminent death if I'm not careful, evidently. I mean, to all of us who care, the epidemics of man-made murders of all forms are rolling at an unstoppable and incredible pace towards the extermination of what the U.S. government, and obviously you people too, consider a useless, low-income, and expendable black, white, and Latino population. I would like to let you know that all of us need to be aware of the fact that no one sees these things because of the inducements of different types of painkillers, opiates, caffeines, and different types of minimal monetary gain to our Hispanic and Latin people, who, by the way, they killed and removed from this same land that was Caliphas. And it's a non-stop, merciless inducement of drugs, disease, and ultimately death to what is considered in large numbers the low-level, insane, transit, and wretched black communities. All these factors add up to the sad case of hatred and mistrust amongst us, the masses, and has us watching each other and blind to the fact that these people right here, their goal is to just eliminate anything black, Hispanic, and what they consider lower class, white income, commissions, people, citizens, and it's just a sad case to see. And honestly, in the end, it looks as if they want us all outright murdered by the police. That's all I have to say.
The next four people are coming from the overflow room: Tud Hayes, Abraham, Dwayne Smith, Kim McGill. I will call Jaretta Sandos.
The taser didn't work, and the batons were either dispensed with or lost. But 5 officers have another tactic. It's called a swarm. You associate that with bees? Well, the officers use that same tactic also, which means 5 officers, police officers, LAPD, should be able to subdue one person who's on the ground in a tent. Now, we don't know, but this is what we heard. We heard an officer said, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. Had there been a gun, there would be fingerprints. But there was no gun. But the minds of all the other officers who heard that statement was that the suspect was armed with a gun, which made him suitable for being shot. So that was a false accusation that cost a person a life. Now, what we do know, or what we've heard, is that Chief Beck points out there was a strap on a gun that was unholstered, that was unbuckled. Well, that's not really a weapon in a hand, but that's what we have so far. Now, that false accusation, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, seems to be the pivotal point in this whole situation. Because Africa was not armed, he had no gun, but he was declared to be armed. and that was the death declaration for Africa. Now, is the swarm tactic still part of the LAPD procedure? If it is, this man would have been taken care of very well. An outreached hand with a gun in it should be dealt with either by being diverted, being wrestled with, or being subdued. Part of the swarm tactic. So let's look at the drop the gun, drop the gun.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes.
Sharetta Sandos.
Good morning, Chief. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I'm from the Los Angeles Police Protective League, and I represent 9,800 Los Angeles police officers. And all lives matter. Not just black lives, not just brown lives, but all lives matter. Every life that God put on this earth matters. What I'm asking this crowd to do is to don't rush to judgment. You were respected and you're up here, and I'm asking for respect. I represent LAPD officers. The chief, as well as this commission, will do a thorough investigation. There's video, there's body cameras, and I watched the video. Please take this to heart. Don't take an officer's gun. If a person attempts to take a police officer's gun, it will not end up well. And my condolences go out to the family of Africa, but let this investigation take its course. Let this investigation take its course. We do not need to riot. We do not need to cause any sort of disturbance. And respect what I'm saying. Police officers protect and serve. I have 20 years on this police department. I worked in various departments, Southeast, 77th, been in numerous confrontations, had my gun taken. Officer James Bea was killed with his own gun from a burglary suspect. So don't think that when a person is attempting to take an officer's gun, it's to hand it back to him. Thank you. Los Angeles police officers will have a fair investigation. Thank you.
What's your name, sir?
Bullies. Straight up fucking bullies. Fuck y'all, fuck y'all, fuck y'all, fuck y'all, fuck y'all. I just came in here, my name was just called, and he just almost grabbed me, almost fucking like threw me on the ground. I was almost shot. Just right fucking now. That's fucking crazy. I'm coming here to talk and speak about this issue, and this shit almost just happened. So whatever standards you guys are putting yourself on, or you whatever procedures, that's bullshit. Fuck that, is bullies. It's all bullies. I'm gonna get to what I gotta say. You guys only respect physical altercation. That's it. If somebody comes at you nicely, yes, bye. Fuck you. Behind our backs, fuck you to your face. Fuck that. Physical altercation. And if we stand up and do what's right and fight against y'all, what? It's going to be a mass murder, right? Murders in the street, that's what you guys want because you guys are equipped for that. You guys have the weaponry for that. So you guys antagonate and you guys, you push the community and push the masses so we can do something, so we can have this physical altercation. We want peace. That's it. That's it. We're not coming here saying, the only reason, this anger did not come out of anywhere. I didn't just wake up and say, you know what, I want to be angry. I had coffee with my daughter. I walked her to school. She got to school good. On time, she ate breakfast. That's when I came and I woke up with that mindset. It was just until 15 seconds ago when I was just grabbed by one of your officers coming here because I was told to speak. You called my name. I am Dewan Smith. We want peace. Black lives does matter. And all that goodness is going to be something that you don't want to see on the streets. And if you don't want that to happen, please stand up and listen to these good people here. They have the answers. Talk to us. We'll talk back. Thank you.
Abraham Kim McGill.
Okay, let's move on. Okay.
Dr. Lewis Logan.
Welcome, sir. Thank you.
Good morning. It's my first time being in this particular room. I've been in the police commissions in the past 10 years ago on the occasion of Devin Brown's murder, and I just couldn't help but read the writing on the wall. Service to our communities, respect for people, integrity in all we say and do, quality through continuous improvement, commitment to leadership, reverence for the law. And then I couldn't help but remember the prophet Daniel, Daniel chapter 5. He, in a room where people of power are intoxicated with the wine of the destruction of a community and a decimation of a race and the continuous surveillance and suppression of a people, drunk with the intoxication of power and false pretenses. They are drinking the blood of the people they vanquished in stolen vessels, and they are stunned by the handwriting on the wall, written and interposed by the judge of all of us, Mene Tekel Parsons. They are unable to, because of their drunken state, identify and even articulate what these words mean. But Daniel the prophet, his name means God is judge. And while this message is really not for you all, because this is really a dog and pony show, it's for my community, it's for my family, it's for all of us who declare that Black Lives Matter. The numbered days of this power structure have been put in order. They have been weighed in the balance, and they come up short. And change is imminent. Change is on the horizon. I'm going to close with this. I was trying to find parking as I was coming to this particular outstretched event and action of our people, and I heard James Brown's song, "You Better Get Ready," and that's a fact. You better get ready for the big payback, because you can't kill Africa.
Herman Jones.
Herman Jones, a member of the community. A
Welcome,
black
sir.
man. A mad, scared black man. And that scares y'all ass, don't it? Because revolution will not be televised. When you can't walk down a street unless you're profiled off the top, your way of practice, your way of doing things, and your way of training is to train an officer to see a black man and say, are you on parole or probation? Once I'm on parole or probation, you put your hands on your pistols. And then you set the stage. You set the stage. Don't put down that pistol. Put down that pistol. Put down that gun. Don't resist arrest. These are the trainers of LAPD. Set me up from the beginning. And you like that? You approve that? Safer Cities Initiative. Safer for who? Safer for who? The people walking the dogs on Main Street? While we be treated like dogs on San Pedro? Safer for who? You can go down Main Street and see one police officer. You go down St. Julian and you see 100. Safer for who? Safer Cities Initiative should be Safer Shit Initiative. Because that's all you're doing. But always remember, the revolution will not be televised.
Joseph DeGarry.
Welcome, sir.
Good morning, Commissioner. My name is Joseph DeGuerre.
I'm a member of different organizations, LA CAN, Community Coalition, and I deal with the community in many ways. I just want to say that it's unfortunate that we had this situation that took place down in Skid Row where an innocent man has been killed by the hands of police. I know that the public is supposed to respect the police, and the police are supposed to uphold the law and protect the public. And obviously there's been some type of a breakdown that needs to be corrected. I'm a person that believes in the Bible, and I believe that firmly that authority has to be respected, and I believe that God has ordained authority. That's why you were sworn in. And in the same way, unfortunately, when authority is misused or when people that are not trained properly do things and it's not acknowledged, what happens is you get civil disobedience and lack of respect for authority. I believe we need to examine those issues. I believe that as far as lethal force, I think we need to consider dealing with the mental health community in the Skid Row area. And we understand that there's a regentrification process taking place downtown right now. And we see that the property is very hot commodity. And it seems like there's a rush to try to, clean up Skid Row. In the process, I think we're going too fast, and we're not taking consideration of the people who lived down there for many years. We do need to have housing, more mental health things. I believe you have things of, I understand there's mace. You have other unlethal weapons like beanbag guns and guns that don't hurt people. We can start to consider maybe using those in the process.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I like your shirt, too.
Thank you very much. How you doing?
Ms. Brown, can you give me 1 second, please? The final 3 people are in the overflow room: Jose James, Stacy Chalkin, Ariel Michael. Ms. Brown.
Welcome.
My name is Kruti Parak, and I'm a human being, and I'm here with the people. Transformative justice is my preferred method of justice. So for my 1 minute and 47 seconds, I'm going to conduct this as a transformative justice circle. I respect and honor each of you as human beings, as parents, as grandparents, as friends, as sons and daughters. And I plead to you, there's a Grand Canyon between you and the people right now. And I don't know if you're looking and if you're listening, but to be conscious in America in this moment in time is to be in a constant state of rage. So when you hear the anger, please don't internalize it. Please don't take it personal. Just do something about it. And if you took just 1% of your budget, right, because that's a method of repairing some harm, you can put it wherever you want. You could put it in Skid Row for housing, for treatment, for counseling. You could give it to the, LA for Youth campaign, for youth centers and peace builders. You could give it to some people in the room that are telling you that they want to help you find some solutions. One of the ways that you can also repair harm is by committing an hour a week and just listening to the stories of the ground that are telling you again and again that your officers are disrespecting and killing human beings. So it's just that simple. My work in this world, as long as I'm here, is going to be around transformative justice. I welcome you to make this 2-minute conversation a lifelong one.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, I am Brandy Brown from the Youth Justice Coalition, and I am here today because I am tired of seeing our people getting killed.
I am sick and tired. When I seen that video on Sunday, I was disgusted because Charlie Beck, I have reached out to you. I have tried to talk to you to come up with a better solution than killing our people. We do not need to be killed. We already in poverty. Help the situation better. Don't make it worse. Homelessness, it goes around. Right now, I'm standing here and I am homeless. Are you going to kill me next? Make a solution. Invest in housing. Invest in something. But you cannot keep killing us. Do something. Get off your ass and do something. And do it quick. Because if we do it, you ain't gonna like it. We didn't try to talk. We didn't chant it. My voice is gone. Do something and do it now. Because if you keep going the way we're going, it's not going to get pretty. Please do something.
Jose James.
Welcome, sir.
Hello, President. First and foremost, it's crazy. I just got back from D.C. from being on the panel with Senator Murphy in discussion about the school-to-prison pipeline where I shared my story. And for me to get off of a plane and come back to the city of angels, ain't no angels right here, man. Everybody's angry. Everybody's mad, you know? We're upset. I asked you, it's sad to say, am I going to be the next one? Well, Mr. Africa was the last one, you know? We need to come up with better solutions, man. Just wanted to close out with one of my favorite quotes by Tupac Shakur. It says, I think I'm a natural-born leader. I know how to bow down to authority if it's authority that I respect. But how am I going to respect authority if they're only here to protect and serve their own department? Thank you.
Stacy Chalkin.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Stacy Chaikin, and I'm a heartbroken neighbor of both the Los Angeles Police Department and a friend and neighbor of the vital community that is Skid Row. I talk to everyone, including your leadership, who bemoan the lack of resources for serving our neighbors who have the challenge of mental illness. The only tools they say we have are these, and they point to their belts. Chief Beck, with all due respect, your officers were not equipped to serve Africa and people like Africa. The only guns on Skid Row on Sunday morning were in your officers' belts. Given the aggression he experienced at the hands of those officers, anyone in their wrong mind would grab at a weapon within arm's length. It was just released that Africa was a convicted bank robber. No matter who he was and whatever he did, it does not justify his death at their hands. Okay? Look, there is no need to wait for the results of an investigation here. I ask that you act now. You change your policy with regard to arms in Skid Row and bringing those arms into arm's length of people who may not be in their right mind. If you're afraid there, if you have, the reasonable doubt or reasonable fear, then get to know the community whose safety you have the mandate to protect and to serve. And respectfully, please partner with the leaders of that Skid Row community. They are there to help you. Right, all lives matter, but right now, at this moment in our history, Black lives matter.
Final speaker on item number 2, Ariel Michael.
I think this gentleman is still up for item number 2, right?
Yes,
okay,
sir.
Good. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, how are you doing? Good afternoon. I'm not even from here. I'm from South Carolina, and I don't know if you guys know, if you follow the news, homelessness is illegal there. So when I come to a place where homelessness is not criminal and see people getting gunned down, it makes me want to go back to where homelessness is illegal. I can get locked the fuck up because then I'm safe. For real. And I came here today dressed down like a thug so you guys can stereotype me, because stereotypically you guys look like the people that have been oppressing my people for 500 fucking years. For real. You look just like them. For real. And that might sound racist, but I don't give a fuck. Seriously. It's got to stop. You don't want to go back to the late 80s and the early 90s when police was getting killed and dumped in dumpsters because of the shit you doing to us. You don't want it to go back to that. But it's reaching that point right now. It really is. We tired. We was asking for help with Booker T. Washington. We was asking for help with Emmett Till. We was asking for help with Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, with the Panthers, with fucking Cesar Chavez. We was asking for help then. We ain't asking no more. We are demanding it. You either gonna help us, or you gonna stop, or we gonna start taking lives. And it's gonna be a war on these streets. For real. I'm not giving you a promise. I'm just telling you what I foresee. It's gonna happen. It's happening in other countries. It's gonna happen here. It happened in Egypt. It's gonna happen here. I'm telling you what I know. I'm not saying I'm gonna do it, but you guys are literally escalating something that doesn't have to be what it is. We matter. Black lives matter. Africa matters. I want his name. I want his name because you're making it a shit show and you're making it a publicity stunt but not releasing his name so everybody out here screaming you killing Africa. We want his name.
Number 3 on the agenda, the report of the Executive Director, Mr. T. Fank. We have one public speaker.
Morning, Mr. President, members of the Commission. Just a very brief item. The item on the agenda, item 8F is in Frank, at the request of Commissioner Madison, who is traveling today on business, not able to be here, and then at Commissioner Kim's request, who will not be here next week, is continued to Tuesday, March 17th. So that's item 8F. We will continue to Tuesday, March 17th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir.
Number 4 in the Mr. Herman, one public speaker.
He's left the building.
Number 4 on the agenda, the report of the Inspector General, Mr. Bustamante.
Thank you, Commissioners. I have no report today.
Item number 5 consists of information items and file items relative to noise variances and special event permits submitted for the period ending February 27, 2015.
Stop speaking.
Item number 6, presentations. Do we
None
have any?
today.
Item number 7, consent agenda items. These items are considered to be routine and non-controversial, upon which the board is provided with adequate information for approval without inquiry or discussion. Does the commission wish to pull item number 7A?
Move approval of item number 7A.
Second with thanks to the donor. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Item number 8.
Thank you. Item number 8, regular agenda items consist of item reports 8 through D now. We have one public speaker on item A. Does the commission wish to pull an item as special for discussion?
I think you go A through E, right?
Yeah.
A through E. Anyone want to pull any?
A and B are oral.
Verbal, right.
I would like to hold 8D. I move approval of 8C and 8E.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so let's have A, B, then we go to D. That's it. CPAB from the harbor area.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you so
for waiting.
No, our pleasure, sir. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Captain Kathy Meek. I'm the commanding officer at Harbor Area, and you've invited us this morning to give you an update on our community programs. Specifically, we'd like to talk about our Teen CPAB and an event that we held last November, which was a teen conference on young women's violence prevention. I have Sergeant Catherine Plows with me from Harbor Community Relations, and then our guests are Ms. Kavita Desai. She is a former Teen CPAB president, and she was an organizer of that teen conference. And then lastly is Ernie Hernandez. He's my Teen CPAB co-chair, and he'd like to give you an update on Harbor Teen CPAB 2014 and where we're going in 2015.
Great. Look forward to it.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thanks for having Harbor today. Excuse my cold. Very proud of our Teen CPAB. Commissioner Figueroa, it's nice seeing you again. You spent time at Harbor Division, and we let you into our little world down there, and we appreciate that. Mr. Soboroff, it's good to see you again. Ernie was very excited to come see you once again. Our Teen CPAB has been very busy last year. We had a town hall meeting that was put on by our Central San Pedro Neighborhood Council in March of last year. And from that town hall, there were a group of young women that came to that, and they approached us afterward and said, we have some issues that we'd like to bring up. First of all, it's safety. They did not feel safe going to and from school. There's some issues with domestic violence, teen dating relationships. And so from that was born the Young Women's Violence Prevention Conference that we ended up partnering with not only the neighborhood councils, but the LA Police Foundation, and put together this conference this past November. Kavita led the opening remarks, and what we did is through a grant that we received, for the next 4 years, the 225 young women that were at that conference will continue to go to a conference every 4 years as they transition through high school to make sure that the lessons that they've learned in the initial conference, and you have the programs in front of you, are reinforced, and that they are given the ability to have mentors through the Harbor Community Relations Office. So without any further, Kavita is going to just give you a brief summary of her opening remarks that she gave at that conference.
Good morning, everyone. I'm honored to be here, just as honored I was to be the opening speaker of the Women's Conference. I'll begin by telling you a little about myself and how I got involved with Teen CPAB. My parents had sent me to India for all my middle school years, so when I returned as a freshman at San Pedro High School, I really didn't know anyone. I was always alone, and it wasn't until my sophomore year at San Pedro High School when a random girl approached me and invited me to be associated with an after-school program for young women, the YWCA Christians Association. The YWCA in San Pedro was also affiliated with the senior lead officer, now Councilman Joe Buscaino, and he introduced me to Teen CPAB, and that's where I became co-chair for 2 years. Both those programs, Teen CPAB and the YWCA, gave me direction, and I grew deeply fond of helping make my community a better place. Programs like these are close to my heart because they have allowed me to find a place in my community and to become a stronger individual for myself. I would have never thought that as a scared and lost freshman in high school, I would be sitting here in front of you giving a speech. The Women's Conference last year was absolutely amazing. It was special to me because it connected the two organizations I was a part of all throughout my high school years. There were workshops regarding abusive relationships and how young girls can find help. There was classes regarding self-defense. I'm thankful to everyone who helped put the Women's Conference together. Women have definitely come a long way towards equality socially, economically, and politically, but we women still have a long way to go. And programs like these aid us in coming closer towards absolute equality by giving us support and teaching us about the strength that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. You're a very good speaker, I want to let you know.
Oh, thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Ernie Hernandez. I'm currently the Teen CPAB co-chair for Harbor Division. I'm here to give a report on what we did in 2014 and what our estimations are for 2015. So for 2014, we promoted awareness on suicide prevention. We posted positive messages throughout our school. Also, we hosted a Peace, Respect, and Tolerance Week. And that week, it had many events throughout the week. We had a presentation. We had speakers from our Peace Club, our Gay Straight Alliance Club as well. We had a No Haters campaign sign where the students signed a sign to promote a bully-free world. We also did our first CERT training, Community Emergency Response Team training by Senior Lead Officers Garcinella and White. I believe that was the first CERT training in the city of Los Angeles at a high school level as well. So we completed that all the way through December, and then we presented our works to the Coastal San Pedro Neighborhood Council. And with that, it was a great learning experience. We learned how to assist in a situation, whether it was a fire or something fell on someone. We were trained to approach that in a nice manner. In 2015, our projections are to focus on drug abuse awareness, and we're also going to increase membership with the entire Harbor area, not just San Pedro and Wilmington, but Carson and Banning as well. And we also will promote a big team project such as a fair, a workshop, or a huge PSA announcement to promote these programs and to give awareness on drug abuse. Thank you.
And that's our report for you, our update.
I want to thank you for affecting change in a community that has issues. Issues with poverty, issues with homelessness, issues with many things. And in my experience in the Harbor, which is a long one, has been that it is a community, and you've shown it today, that makes change by holding hands with us instead of pointing fingers at us. And I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you for settling that strike. You know, if you guys would have been involved in that, you could have settled that strike in an hour.
Item number 8B, verbal presentation and discussion from the Department and Inspector General relative to the current status of patrol deployment practices.
Gentlemen, welcome.
Good morning. I'm George Villegas. I'm assigned to the Office of Operation, and John Peters is assigned to the Office of Operations as well.
Good morning, Commissioners. Alex Bustamante, Inspector General. Wanted to give you a little bit of an update, at least from the perspective of my office when it comes to the patrol plan issue. From the moment we brought the report, we've been working with OO and also doing some data analysis of our own, of the different patrolman numbers, and also talking with the many people that had come with us before and explained some of the issues that they had identified. As it stands now, with the available evidence that I have, there is no indication that this practice is continuing and appears to have stopped throughout the city. We'll continue to monitor to see if this issue presents itself again, but I think we believe that the issue is done, and we definitely have a commitment from OO to stay on top of this issue and make sure that this or something similar does not happen again.
Yeah. In following the October meeting that you had here, there was 2 inspections that were done within the Office of Operations to take a look at patrol plan deployment. They did that, and there was no deviations or violations thereof. In January, when I first assumed my position at the Office of Operations, I met with all the bureau chiefs and the commanders, and there was a discussion among many topics. One of them was data integrity in terms of ensuring that all the information that we provided, whether it's the classifications of crime reports or our deployment practice, to ensure that it's accurate. Subsequent to that, I published a memo internally within the Office of Operations to ensure that we follow our own established protocols for deployment. We've also started doing daily or every other day inspections to ensure that we're complying with our own deployment practices. As an example, today I called for our unit, the field deployment unit, to take a look at our deployment for night watch detectives to ensure that it was consistent with our MOU protocols.
Thank you. Thanks for the report. Did looking at this issue with more scrutiny, and did it cause any rethinking of the previous or current previous guidelines regarding patrol deployment? Did it cause any sort of reevaluation of
No, I think that what has happened, and as you all know, there's been a series of promotions, and we have a lot of new people in different positions. I think we've had 45 or so movements within the Office of Operations, and we have, I'm new to my position, John's new to his position, and we have other bureau chiefs that are new to their positions. So it was just a matter of reaffirming our established protocols and procedures that we do have in place and ensuring that we comply with what we already have in place within the department manual and within our protocols.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for the report and for the progress, and express my desire, and I would guess my fellow commissioners share it, that as the Inspector General said, that he'll continue to monitor this, and I know you will too, and that if you begin to see a problem along these lines, that you let us know on the early side as opposed to on the later side.
Absolutely. One of the conversation pieces I've had over the course of several months is with the Inspector General, and to ensure that we have an open dialogue and exchange of information so that at any type of yellow or red flag that comes up, that we're both in the loop to ensure that we're addressing whatever the issue may be on this or on any other issue that relates to the department.
Thank you.
And Commissioner, if I can just echo that too. I mean, we have had a lot of conversations with OO, Chief Villegas and his staff, and have talked about a lot of issues and trying to identify ways to address some of the issues on the earlier side opposed to the later side. And those conversations, at least from my office, have been incredibly productive, and we're looking forward to that.
Thank you.
We need a motion?
No.
Oh, no, that was informational. So we go to number C now, is it? D?
Item number 8D, Inspector General's report dated February 25th, 2015, relative to the review of the Ethics Enforcement Section Test, fiscal year 2013-2014, as set forth.
Thank you, Commissioners. At the table, I also have from my office Assistant Inspector General Kevin Rogan. As you're aware, we routinely review the department's EES testing. We did so on this report. We reviewed their test regarding officers' conduct. About 80% of the officers tested received a result of pass or pass with comments to the command. The remaining 20% were classified as attempts, inconclusive, or failed. We did identify primarily 3 issues that we lay out in the report. The first one is an issue I think that requires some additional investigation by the department and the city attorney. It's whether audio recordings of subject officers during these stings are warranted. We also identify an issue with delayed testing and issues with the capture of complainant phone numbers. Both of those issues have been addressed and we believe remedied. As for the first issue that we discussed, we are aware the department and the city attorney are going to discuss this issue and determine the appropriateness of recording in that situation. And subject to any questions you may have, myself and Assistant Inspector General Kevin Rogan are here.
I just want to make sure I understood. So you had made 3 recommendations, and the second and third, you're satisfied have already been responded to adequately. And then, so I just have a question, or I guess a question about when we're likely to hear back on the first one, and maybe a request that you calendar it to come back to us so that that doesn't get lost somewhere.
Regarding the audio
Yes.
Question? Sure, I'm more than happy to give the commission an update on where that stands, although I think that update is probably more appropriate from the department because they'll be the ones having the conversations with the city attorney's office, and we'll be able to kind of evaluate that in a much broader context, given that they'll be the ones performing the stings or the audits.
And it's your sense 60 days, 90 days for a report back from the department on that?
I would not know because I'm not familiar with when the conversations are
Do
going
you
to
know the
occur.
status with the city attorney? Well, they have a timeline?
I don't, sir.
We'll work with Richard. I don't know what their timeline is.
Thank you.
I know we've made the request. I just don't know what their timeline is.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Let's talk about
For the commission's benefit, I'll work with Commander Malinowski, and we'll work on getting it back so it doesn't get lost.
Thank you. Want to move approval?
Move approval of the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now on item number 9, public comment
Can I
period.
go, I'm sorry, I need to go back to 8E.
Okay.
Can I, what's the, E is the proposals for the internet auctioning services. Do we need, I just have a question.
Yeah, I believe the staff left, sir, that were on the item.
Can I give you my question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My question was that eBay is a very efficient way for a company to sell merchandise, and it looked to me like this says it said that the companies offer these items for sale through a public auction utilizing the proposer's online website, and I think that should be expanded to say that eBay is okay, because I think that otherwise you're really limiting your potential users, your potential respondents to the RFP, to those who are all set up with their own websites and everything else, or if that one wins, the fact that they may be able to get higher prices for certain merchandise on something like eBay is, it just seems to me to be unnecessarily not allowed under this contract.
Mr. President,
Point of information.
if I may suggest, and as a point of order, I believe, you'd have to have a motion to reconsider the item, and when you had that motion, then you could bring the item back at a subsequent meeting, and those questions could be responded to. You can't take that action now that you've already considered the item. There's no staff here to respond to your questions. Am I right, Mr. City Attorney?
You're correct, Richard.
Thank you.
What do you think, Chief?
Well, let me.
You have to reopen the item, sir. Unfortunately, you cannot speak about the item.
Let's reopen the item.
You have the appropriate motion is a motion to reconsider the item. Then you have a second, and then take a vote on the motion.
I'll move it. Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you.
Okay, just for the record, we're hearing item number 8E, Department's Report dated February 20th, 2015, relative to the request for proposals for the Internet auctioning services for unclaimed personal property as set forth.
And my recommendation would be to not prohibit. If it doesn't prohibit, it may not, but just to specifically not prohibit the winner utilizing, in addition to the proposer's online website, other safe auction websites like eBay, etc.
And on the face of it, Commissioner, I see no issue with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, these are things that got reviewed by the city attorney, and there may be some. So what I would recommend is if we want to address this, you probably should hold it till next week, and then I'll let them know what the specific question is, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So we'll have the item on the agenda for next week.
Okay.
So for the record, the item is not approved, and we're going to reconsider it on the next board meeting.
That's correct.
Thank you. We are now on item number 9, public comment period. We have 12 public comment speaker cards. The first is the great I am who sent me.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Board of Commissioners. I came here with a divine assignment to give you today. United we stand, divided we fall. You are not in charge anymore. As of April 1st, 2014, I became President, World Government Leader of this United States, universe, and nation. So please heed the word of the Lord today. I am the great I am, who sent me as Jesus of Nazareth, alive in Los Angeles, California, and for the news media to know as well. This has been an uproar, evil city, an antichrist city against God's people. Shame on you. Shame on you and shame on you. Judgments against you now because of divine appointment, divine order, and divine assignment. God sent me here today. Because if you want a war, you will get a war. God sent me here as daddy to his disobedient children. I didn't come for the police commissioner people. They know who I am. LA Can, Occupy. I came for you today. And you need to hear what I have to say, because I'm tired too. This ain't no joke. I'm not to be played with. And God says, obey. Stop being disobedient, or hell is going to break loose in this city. This city in the Bible days is Sodom and Gomorrah. You are living a reality life here. God on earth and the devil too. So Jesus wins in the end. Do you want to fight against me, or do I have to fight against you, says the Lord? I came to let you know, wake up. This is a warning. 911, awake, or God will destroy Sodom and Gomorrah by 1 hour of a consuming fire to destroy all. We are God's people. We were created equal. But I am the God of order under chain of command.
Next, please.
You listen to me today. I'm in charge. And respect. If you want to get peace in this city,
Next,
hope,
please.
Jesus is the answer, and I'm alive. So put me in your affairs today, because wrath has come today by divine appointment. God bless you, and I love you. Peace and love.
Chief Ferris, Jess Ferris. Todd Hayes.
Welcome, Mr. Hayes. Sir?
Visualize this. Actually, you can actually experience this. It's rush hour in Los Angeles, and the freeways are moving at 10 miles an hour or at a dead stop. But there's somewhere you can travel at 70 miles an hour. You know where that is? Of course not. It's the red line going to San Bernardino. That train moves at 70 miles an hour on its last leg, if they want to. We don't have a subway system. Moscow has one, London has one, New York has one. We don't. What we have are trains underground. The Expo line can only travel 5 miles faster than the parallel traffic. And it has 9 traffic lights it stops at. Can you imagine 300 people on a train stopped at a traffic light? That's what happens. Now, I mentioned to you about the Alameda Corridor. One of you knew about it. But the freight people spent enormous amounts of money to dig a trench and put a freight train in it for a particular reason. But we have our trains on the ground because it's cheaper to do so. The station director for MTA points out that if you have a train on the ground and you require people to drive across the track, to walk across the track, you're going to kill them. But we're willing to do that. Garcetti tripped up and pointed out they should put a tunnel through that mountain parallel to the 405 and run a train through it. He's right. He knows that. But we won't do it. Because there's revenue with gas money and taxes, and Schwarzenegger pointed that out. So think about this as a safety issue, because that's the obligation of public safety officers. Thank you.
Barbara Dumas, Stacy Chalkin.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, this is my second time here. This is my first time speaking, though. My name is Barbara Demas, and I am a retired teacher. I now live on Skid Row because I lost my sight, and so I'm legally blind, and because of a divorce and that kind of thing. So poverty brought me into this community because that's the only way you can get help with income that I can afford at this point in my life. So I jokingly say I've gone from middle class to no class. However, when I first moved to Skid Row, I was very afraid. And I would have somebody hold my hand everywhere I went. And whenever I saw police, and even now, I smile and wave. I'm very happy to see police on Skid Row. But I also stand there and I pray. And on the day of the shooting, I walked out and I saw all the lights and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what's going on? And so this young man, he was shouting at the police, yeah, I saw it, I'm taking pictures, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, come here, come here. All of these police This guy is telling him that he is an eyewitness to a murder. Not one police broke away from eating their Subway sandwiches to come and take his information. This was an eyewitness to a murder investigation. I could not believe that the police that I believe in were not getting eyewitness accounts. I stood there and watched them and it didn't happen. Please. I'm a mother. I have 2 daughters that graduated from Howard Universities, and I have a black male child son who's never been to jail and who is afraid to walk the streets, not of people, but of the police. We have got to change this. I heard I'm legally blind, so I couldn't see the tape and all of that, but I know this young man told me that he watched them shoot him 5 times and then cuff him.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, when can I speak again? And I'd like to be on that commission that you guys talked about for the regular people to oversee this, because I want to see the tape. I heard what was said, drop the gun, he's got my gun, 2 different things.
Come on back next week.
What day? Tuesday?
Yes, ma'am.
How do I get up earlier on the agenda? Because I don't want to be the last one at the end like this, and I can't see. So tell me where I need to be on the agenda to be up front.
Just think if you'd write on your card that you have a physical issue, and when you turn it in.
Say that again?
You can't do that?
What did you say?
I'm just checking with the city attorney.
The card is submitted for the item that you want to speak on, and that depends on the order that the commission takes the item.
Okay. So come on back next week, just put your card in as soon as you can, and we'll get to you as soon as we can.
Okay. Are they going to let us see the tape?
Thank you.
Ariel Michael, Herman Jones, Keon Wilson, Umarkin Hakim, Pastor Q, Paul Jung. That concludes the public comment cards. We are now on item number 10, closed session items. The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss item numbers 10A1, 2, and 3, item number 10B, and item number 10C in accordance with Government Code 54957.
Hi, I'm Cindy, and I'm in Little Tokyo, and you're watching Channel 35, Your City, Your Channel.
Local elections. Los Angeles holds elections for important local offices
like the mayor, city council, school board, and ballot propositions in the spring during odd-numbered years. And a no vote will keep it this way. Lately, turnout for these local races have been really low. So the proposal is, hold local city and school board elections at the same time as federal, state, and county elections in even-numbered years, starting in 2020.
So if